welcome to Vacation Bible School training, March Madness, and this is our first session, so we're so grateful that you decided to join us tonight. I think some churches, we struggle and wonder if it's worth doing Vacation Bible School. And so I want to camp out there for the next few minutes. And but I want to say up front that this presentation comes from some very important research that was done by Lifeway Kids Ministry Publishing and Lifeway Research. So they joined together and did a very robust survey. And so this is where this information comes from. The survey or the research began when they interviewed a demographically balanced online panel of American adults. So this information comes from the good old USA. And the second and third phases of this focused survey was done with kids ministers from a random sampling of Protestant churches, again, in the United States. So these responses are been very consistent. And so, you know, they're a research firm, so they know how to make sure that the information shared is reliable. So we're going to take a few minutes just to talk about, you know, is Vacation Bible School really worth it? And so let me ask you this. I'm going to do a quick poll, if you wouldn't mind helping me. I want to know if you attended Vacation Bible School growing up. So you've got the poll in front of you. So tell me if you went to Vacation Bible School when you were growing up. 43% said yes, you attended VBS, and 57% no. That's interesting. So let me share what the research showed, because I think it's very interesting, because we all have a story about VBS. That's why we're on here tonight, because we all have a story about VBS, whether we got to go to VBS when we were kids or we began VBS when, you know, we were in high school, or whether we're adults helping with Vacation Bible School. But so this is what the research shows. The research shows that 60% of adults who attended VBS, they did so while growing up. And so if the odds are that, you know, you might be one of those, and the survey also shows, and I love this, because 9 out of 10 who attended VBS had very positive memories of those experiences. And if you did attend VBS, chances are you went because you were invited by an immediate family member, by relatives, by neighbors, or friends who took you. Because I'm going to share the next statistic, which is what I love, because a lot of, you know, a lot of people say that, you know, if I invite people, they won't come to VBS. But you know what? The research shows this, that 69% of American parents will encourage their child to participate in a VBS event at a church they don't attend if they're invited by one of their friends. Now think about it, 69%. You know, that's incredible. That's incredible, because again, I think sometimes we, you know, say to ourselves, well, you know, nobody's going to come to our VBS, you know, even if I invite them, they're not. But the research shows almost 70% of American parents, and I love the word they use, that they're going to encourage their kids, you know, that it's going to be, they're not just saying it's okay to go, but they're going to encourage their kids to participate in a VBS event at a church that they don't attend if they're invited by someone that they know. So I just think that's, you know, that's a neat statistic to remind us that, you know, evangelism, you know, when we invite, you know, when we do evangelism, you know, it does have some fruits there. So again, I just love that statistic. Well, you know, with all of that, you know, we are in a crisis, and we're in a crisis First of all, we're in a crisis of evangelism. And the research reveals that a point of crisis for our church is truly evangelism. Churches are not doing a good job of reaching our communities. I mean, we're just not. I mean, think about your own church. Do you feel like your church is really evangelistic, or are they kind of lukewarm sometimes? Well, look at the statistics here. 48% of us are not inviting our unchurched friends to an event or a service at church. So, and I'm talking the church as a whole. If you think about your congregation, at least 40% of us are not inviting our unchurched friends. And then look at the other statistic at the very end. 61% of us aren't even sharing our faith. So in the American church, there is a crisis of evangelism going on. And then the next crisis that's happening is a crisis of loneliness. Our kids are facing a crisis of loneliness. There was a study done in 2016 that told us about our kids in crisis when it comes to loneliness. You know, Gen Zers, also known as iGen, are digital natives and never knowing the world without the internet or smartphones. And this is creating a crisis of loneliness. And it's happening even to adults because we are, we're being more and more tied to our digital devices. And our kids, think about it. Our kids are on their phones, on their tablets, on their gaming devices. They're photographing their foods, and they're doing hello selfies. They're posting everything going on in their lives without actually living real life experiences. They're more concerned about, how many followers they have and likes they have than really true relationships. And kids spend a lot of time in front of gaming devices, in front of the television, or their digital devices, watching movies. I mean, it boggles my mind that kids have their cell phones and they're watching a movie. And I mean, they're connected all the time, and what does that make them and the adults around them? It makes them lonely because they have isolated themselves. And so, research tells us that kids and teens who have Christian friendships at church have a healthier spiritual lives as adults. And so VBS can provide the opportunity to meet and develop friendships, and through fun and real life experiences. That's a positive part of Vacation Bible School. And similarly, kids and teens who connect with godly men and women at church have healthier spiritual lives in adulthood. So Vacation Bible School is a full week where they get to experience these relationships. God didn't create us to be lonely. He made us to want to live in community. And so there are very few times in the rhythm of church calendars that provide a whole week of human and multi-generational interaction. And that's what VBS does. It provides that interaction. And so there is a timeless solution. The crisis that we have in our churches and individuals find themselves in every day, it's not new. The lack of evangelism and the loneliness, these things aren't new. They've just become, I think more pronounced in our lives, as we continue to, walk through. But Jesus himself declared that the harvest is abundant, but the workers are few. Therefore, pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out workers into his harvest field. And so it's so important that, neither the reality of loneliness is not just a contemporary thing, because of Jesus, you and I do not have to be alone ever. Isn't that, I hope we understand that we're never alone. He's with us all the time. And we need to be teaching that and relaying that, to our children. And again, Vacation Bible School is just an awesome opportunity to be able to do that. So let me tell you a little bit about how Vacation Bible School started. Well, it began in a moment of crisis. It's not so different from the one we face today. Churches needed to spread the gospel, and individuals longed to have meaningful community. And so there was a woman, Virginia Hayes. You'll see her on the screen. And she was a godly woman, and she noticed this problem, and she wanted to do something indicative of her go-getter personality. And so she began searching for a solution on, how do you create community? So Mrs. Hawes, she noticed that the public schools closed for the summer, and the streets in the section of New York City's East Side swarmed with idle and sometimes unruly kids. We get that today, right? And so in 1898, Virginia Hawes opened what became known as the most prominent precursor of today's VBS. And you know where she did it? In a beer parlor. We felt that VBS is not in homes as it used to be, nor as it should be, and it is not taught in the public schools. So we opened a school in which we made the Bible our only textbook. And that's what she said in her, in a biography. Somebody quoted her as saying, so we created our own school and we made the Bible our textbook. How great is that? And isn't that what Vacation Bible School is all about? We're creating community and we're using the Bible as the textbook. And so you figure she did this in 1898, and by 1934, there were approximately 700 Bible schools, and they reached as many as 100,000 children. And these numbers continue to grow. I want to show you some statistics a few years ago from Vacation Bible School. Look at them. There were 65,000, more than 65,000 decisions from Vacation Bible School. And this is just from Southern Baptists. There were 21,000, more than 21,000 churches that said that they did Vacation Bible School. That's almost 50% of our Southern Baptist churches. They had 2.4 people enrolled in VBS. About 7 millions were given to missions during VBS. 835 decisions were made for vocational ministry, and then 160,000 plus prospects were discovered through VBS. So, VBS continues to grow, continues to mushroom as we go. And so year after year, the numbers certainly reflect individual lives that were changed for eternity. Because that's what, think about that, 65,000 made decisions for Christ at Vacation Bible School. That just boggles my mind. That's 65,000 lives who were changed at Vacation Bible Schools in our churches. I mean, I just think it's amazing. So let me spend the last few minutes that I have talking about some myths about Vacation Bible School. I'm going to bust some myths right now. And the first myth, number one, is this, that people say that Vacation Bible School, people are using Vacation Bible School for childcare, and that's a bad thing. That's what they're saying. Well, the research shows, the research shows that that only 12% said they're interested in Vacation Bible School as childcare. 12%, that's all. In the survey, only 12% said that's why they were doing vacation, that's why they were attending Vacation Bible School. So think about this. If 60 families had kids who attended your VBS, and only 7 of those families chose your VBS for free childcare. So what? Guess what? They came. That's the important thing, is they came to your Vacation Bible School. And it makes them give you an opportunity to do what? To tell them about Jesus. Doesn't matter how they came, but the fact is, they came. And so, and just to think about it, sometimes we have this thing in our head that that's all we're doing is providing free childcare. But you know what? That's not why people are attending your vacation Bible school. Look at the reasons they're attending. They love the themes. The themes were fun. My child is building valuable relationships. So Vacation Bible School is more than just childcare. And even if they come for childcare, they're a captive audience. Just think of what you can do when they come, no matter what reasons they come. They come and we get that opportunity to build relationships with them. So that's myth number one. Myth number two is we say we don't have enough workers. No one volunteers. Now I want you to put in the chat. Tracy's going to come back up and join me and share a little bit what's coming in the chat. But share in the chat, what are the ways that you enlist workers for Vacation Bible School? Because think about this. First think about your key leaders at your church. And how many do you have? What would a VBS designed with just those leaders in position look like? So if you are a church and you only have, 5 people to volunteer, how would you, design your Vacation Bible School? What would it look like? What would it look like if you just designed your Vacation Bible School with just those 5? Maybe it would help, maybe it would, spur you on perhaps to incorporate some less experienced VBS leaders in your group, or even teenagers. And when you do that, what do you do? What ends up happening? You're developing new leaders. So start with where you have, and design your VBS based on what you have. And instead of the fact that we say, oh, I can't do anything until we have, 25 people, think about the fact that, take the 5 that you do have and design your Vacation Bible School around that. And it's interesting because when you share your enthusiasm, I think one of the things that ends up happening is you grow that, your base of volunteers because you're enthusiastic about that. So let me just see, Tracy, anybody have any, just looking to see if anybody had any different ways that they enlist, or how do you enlist your volunteers? Because again, I think that the other thing that that detracts from people wanting to volunteer or volunteering is sometimes the way we enlist people. And so sometimes, we can tend to enlist people just by saying, hey, come all, just from the pulpit. And we don't do that one-on-one enlistment and let them know this is exactly what we're looking for when it comes to Vacation Bible School. And one of the things I would say is that we do have to learn to do a better job when it comes to enlisting people for our Vacation Bible School. And one of the things that we've done this year for VBS training is we are doing what we call VBS short takes. And the first short take I did was on VBS enlistment. So if you're a VBS leader and you want to know how to do enlistment more effectively, check out that short take. I'm going to be sending that to you when we send our video links next week.
Well, and the last section on volunteer shining talks all about it.
Right. So you're gonna get some good stuff here. And great. Good. So think about that. That shouldn't be a reason that we don't do VBS because we don't have enough workers. So maybe rethinking let's design our VBS based on the amount of workers we have, instead of saying, hey, I've got to have 25, otherwise I'm not doing VBS. Because maybe there are some creative ways we can do VBS with less workers. And I think through this pandemic, I think we learned how to do some of that, didn't we? We certainly learned how to pivot and do VBS digitally. We learned how to do it with masks on. We learned how to do it socially distant. So don't let not having enough volunteers stop you from doing Vacation Bible School. Myth number 3. Is everybody in town is doing VBS and no one will come to ours. I know there's a part of all of us that want to be different, and there's nothing wrong with planning ministries that uniquely fit the context of your church and community. However, according to our research, 79% of leaders say parents don't complain when their VBS is the same as other churches' VBSs. That doesn't bother them at all, And one thing I would say about that whole idea of maybe you're using the same VBS, so maybe your VBS is way different. Maybe you rethink how you do VBS, especially if the other church in town or a couple of churches in town are doing VBS. And again, I don't know if where you live, you have an opportunity to work with other churches in town or say, ask them how they are doing VBS. So maybe you could put a different spin on your Vacation Bible School, because there certainly is a lot of material when it comes to Vacation Bible School. So you might want to rethink, how to do yours just a little bit differently so yours stands out, So think of it that way instead of thinking that nobody's going to come, because that's not what the research shows. The research shows that 79%, they don't mind that the Vacation Bible School might be the same. All right, myth number 4. VBS is way too expensive. We have to buy way too much stuff. And, again, I think we need to start with the basics. No matter what Vacation Bible School you choose, whether it's the one that we're talking about tonight, Spark Studios, whether it's Spark Studios or whether you do group or Answers in Genesis or Standard Publishing, there are lots of them out there. And most Vacation Bible Schools, have what they call starter kits. And then you can buy things from there. And, so I think that it doesn't have to be expensive. Sometimes you have to be creative. And over the next couple of weeks, check out our list of topics. And one of the topics we'll be talking about decorations and how to do them on the cheap. Because that's what we want. We want to know how to do them on the cheap. Because even the dollar store is no longer $1. It's turned into $1.25, I think. Or I know it has in New England. So let us know in your state if it's still $1. We may go down there. But anyway, you can. But the point is, it doesn't have to be expensive. You can make Vacation Bible School work on any. On any budget. And so don't let that detract you from doing Vacation Bible School. Myth number 5, the only kids who come to our VBS are church kids. And I hear that a lot. The only kids who come to VBS is church kids. So what if no one comes to our VBS but church kids? Aren't they worth it? Aren't they worth it? The fact, however, is about half, again, check the screen out, is about half of the participants attending VBS at a given church are either unchurched or attend another church. So what better way to teach your kids and the kids in the community the gospel, knowing that the gospel you share and you teach about is true? it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Those kids are what is worth it. And so VBS is one of the few events most churches do that focuses on the kids and invests in their discipleship through a time of intentional, concentrated Bible learning. And so is it okay for the church kids to come to VBS? Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I would say is if that's all that comes to your VBS, then really pack it out with that aspect of discipleship in mind. I know a lot of times when we're doing VBS, we're concerned that we want to, be able to share the gospel, with the kids that are in church. But if you say, all the kids in my class come to church, well, you know what? Invest in them, disciple them. And you might be surprised that you think that all the kids know Jesus, but you know what? When you share the gospel, you might find out that some of the kids that you thought knew Jesus didn't. So Vacation Bible School, can be, an awesome time to really, truly invest in those kids in your church that come to Vacation Bible School. So that's myth number 5. Myth number 6 is that all of our kids are already Christians and VBS is not about discipleship. But, truly, Vacation Bible School does have discipleship in it. It does have discipleship in it. Bible study is a key component of discipleship. And during Vacation Bible School, participants of all ages, are learning to use their Bibles. They're being challenged to make Bible reading a part of their lives. That's what discipleship is all about. Leaders mentoring new leaders, many who serve as assistant teachers during Vacation Bible School often become the future children's teachers. And so, kids get to know Christian adults and learn from them on how important following Jesus is in their lives. And look at 78% of churches use VBS as the largest outreach event to unchurched kids in a given year. And look at it, 64% rely on VBS to what? Create excitement. And then it says an equal number, 64%, use VBS to disciple kids within their church. And you know what? Vacation Bible School is a trustworthy VBS curriculum that will teach kids those biblical truths. And so we need to be about that. And so don't let the fact that, again, you think that the kids are already Christians, and you know what? Sometimes the best opportunities we have is at Vacation Bible School because, again, you're laser focused, you're teaching, you're sharing the Gospels, and you're helping those kids to know more about Jesus and how to be a true disciple. So, okay, I don't mind Vacation Bible School being a discipleship mechanism for our kids. It's a great tool. It's a great tool. So just bust that myth. Okay. So I just want you to think about this, as I come in for a landing, if you total up, VBS, it results in, listen to this, 15 hours usually of intense discipleship, the gospel being shared daily, and 7 months of ministry in 1 week. Think about that. Just think about that. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. And if we stop using VBS as an evangelism tool, where will our churches be in 10, 20, 30 years from now? Where will they be? VBS is an opportunity for us to make a difference in our communities. And so you ask yourself, is Vacation Bible School worth it? That's my question tonight, is Vacation Bible School worth it? As you cut 50 pieces of construction paper, what's the enemy going to whisper in your ear? Maybe, is it worth it? After you burn yourself with that hot glue gun, the enemy may whisper, is it worth it? You know, when the 3-year-old with authority issues punches and kicks you, the enemy may whisper, is it worth it? When that 7-year-old has a meltdown on the very last day of VBS, the enemy may whisper, is it really worth it? As you reassure the doubting preteen that she is made in God's image, the enemy may whisper, is it worth it? And then when the alarm goes off at 5 in the morning on the 3rd day of VBS and you know what's waiting for you in the office in the afternoon, the enemy may whisper, is it worth it? Well, you know, we know, as I've already shared tonight, is we're in a crisis of evangelism and loneliness, but we do have a timeless solution. You know, God continues to use Vacation Bible School as a powerful tool of the church to reach all ages with the gospel and to invite people in the community to provide Christ in his church. That's what we're there for. We're there to invite and to be a light. So you know what? You have to ask yourself, right? Is it worth it? Is Vacation Bible School worth it? Well, I would categorically say, yes, it's worth it because eternity is worth it. And that's the invitation that we make when we do Vacation Bible School. We are inviting not only kids and teenagers, but we're inviting their parents to eternity. That's what we do.